Put your headphones on, close your eyes if you can, disconnect from the noise of the world. This is your time. Let's go deep together.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really getting into the world of Elon Musk. He's a figure who, well, everyone seems to have an opinion about, right? But his impact is just undeniable.
Absolutely. And our guide for this is Ashley Vance's biography, Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX, and the Quest for a Fantastic Future. It's a pretty comprehensive look.
It really is. And our goal today for you is to kind of pull out the key insights. You know, Vance did hundreds of interviews, tons of observation.
Yeah, we want to give you a shortcut, basically, to understanding what makes this guy tick, his drive, his vision, even his contradictions.
And the story of how Vance even got access is fascinating in itself.
Yeah.
Because at first, Musk just said no, flat out refused to cooperate.
Right. But Vance kept digging, did his own reporting for months, talked to like 200 people.
Exactly. And Musk calls him up, offers to cooperate, but there's a catch.
Ah, the footnotes. He wanted to add footnotes to correct what he saw as factual inaccuracies.
Which Vance, being a solid journalist, refused. He felt it would compromise the whole thing, make Musk look like a control freak.
Yeah, which says a lot, doesn't it? How do you tell the story of someone so, well, focused on their own narrative? Vance talks about this dinner they had. Sounds pretty memorable, actually. Fried lobster, squid ink, giant cotton candy.
Yeah, sounds intense.
And after all that, Musk just says, okay, full access, no strings. Apparently he respected Vance's, standing firm, valued that resolve.
And maybe the most telling detail. Right at the end of this long dinner, Musk is leaving, stops, looks Vance in the eye and asks,
"Do you think I'm insane?"
Exactly. What a question. That really sets the stage for what we want to explore today. What drives someone like that?
Okay, so where does this quest for a fantastic future even begin?
Let's go back. Pretoria, South Africa, 1971. That's where Elon Rees Musk was born. And even as a kid, apparently, he was different.
Yeah, the signs were there early, especially with technology. He sees a computer for the first time. He's 10 years old.
In Mall, right.
Yeah, Johannesburg Mall. And he's just awed. Stays up for 3 days straight, teaching himself programming. Just dives right in. Wow.
And by 12, he designs this sci-fi video game, Blaster. Sells the code 167 lines for $500.
Using a name E.R. Musk. Sounds like a sci-fi author already.
Totally. But it wasn't all, genius programming. His childhood sounds pretty rough.
Yeah, the book talks about some really severe bullying. So bad his best friend was apparently forced to lure him into ambushes. He called it nonstop horrible.
And apparently, even recalling it years later, his eyes would well up, which is a stark contrast to this, superhuman intellect he had.
The photographic memory. A fact factory, Vance calls him. Knew the exact distance to the moon off the top of his head, that kind of thing.
It makes you wonder how those two things, the trauma and the intellect, kind of combined,
Definitely. He saw South Africa as limiting, like you said earlier, a prison. And his family background, especially his grandparents, they sounded like real adventurers. Flew a single-engine plane around the world.
Yeah. Month-long trips into the Kalahari. Apparently, they almost died multiple times. He grew up with those stories.
So maybe that's where some of that unusual tolerance for risk comes from. It was sort of baked in.
So you've got this kid, bullied, bookish, prefers computers to people, but with this adventurous family legacy and an incredible mind.
And by 17, he's just done with South Africa, wants to get to America. That's the goal.
He uses his mom's Canadian citizenship as the route out, really driven by this idea of finding a place where his personality and dreams could flourish.
Right. He kind of framed it as avoiding military service under apartheid, but the book notes he actually did attend the University of Pretoria for about 5 months while waiting for his Canadian papers. Didn't seem too invested, though. Lackluster effort is the phrase used.
Okay, so his great escape to Canada wasn't exactly seamless either.
No, not quite. Lands in Montreal in '88, thinks he's staying with a great uncle.
Oh, he's moved to Minnesota.
Exactly. So he ends up in a youth hostel, eventually takes a bus 1,900 miles to Saskatchewan to stay with his second cousin. Talk about winging it.
But he lands on his feet pretty quick. Gets a summer internship at the Bank of Nova Scotia.
And this is great. He apparently tries to convince his boss they could make billions of dollars for free, exploiting some debt loophole in Brazil and Argentina.
And millions.
Yeah.
As an intern.
Yeah. The bank turned him down, obviously. But Musk said that rejection actually gave him confidence later on when he was competing against big, established players. I saw how they operate.
Interesting. So from banking, he jumps into tech, right?
Yeah.
The dot-com boom is starting to brew.
Yeah, 1994 is a key year. Couple of big internships. One at Pinnacle Research looking at ultracapacitors for EVs, even laser sidearms, apparently.
Laser sidearms, okay.
And another at Rocket Science Games, writing low-level code, pulling all-nighters. People saw him as completely unflappable, just boundless energy.
Which leads to Stanford decision.
Right.
Or non-decision.
Right. He gets into this PhD program, material science, physics. Last 2 days.
2 days.
The pull of the internet was just too strong. He said it was irresistible. And he decided video games, which he'd been working on, weren't grand enough. He wanted a bigger impact.
A big effect on the world. That seems to be a recurring theme.
Definitely. So he and his brother Kimball take this road trip brainstorming ideas.
And that leads to Zip2. Well, Global Link first, then Zip2.
Yeah, their first real venture. Online directories for businesses, eventually shifting to selling software to newspapers.
It sounds like it was intense. Lots of arguments with Kimball. Even got physical at one point.
Yeah, the book mentions he ripped skin off his fist during one argument. It was chaotic. But you also see glimpses of his management style emerging.
Like getting employees to make the office seem buzzy for investors.
Exactly. Or forming a video game team for the Quake tournament. They came in second nationwide.
Okay, and then Zip2 sells. Big time.
Yep, 1999. Compaq buys it for $307 million. Musk gets about $22 million out of it.
So he's a dot-com millionaire. But he doesn't stick around at Compaq.
No way. He'd never entertained the idea. He wanted control. He wanted to be CEO of whatever came next.
All right, so level up achieved. Next target, banking. Again, sort of.
Yeah, X.com. His vision for a totally online, full-service financial institution.
Which, you have to remember, this is 1999. People were still nervous about buying books online.
Right, let alone trusting a website with their life savings. It was incredibly audacious.
And his approach was aggressive, wasn't it? Offering cash to sign up.
Totally. $20 cash for signing up, $10 for referrals. He got rid of fees, overdraft penalties, and the big one, person-to-person payments using just email addresses.
Revolutionary at the time.
Absolutely. And it worked initially. Over 200,000 signups in the first few months. He added things like a debit card, a money market fund, try and make it a whole ecosystem.
It wasn't all smooth sailing. He got ousted as CEO, right?
Yeah, internal politics, disagreements about the tech platform. X.com ended up merging with Confinity, which had its own payment system called PayPal.
And eventually, the whole thing became PayPal.
Right, and the book describes it as a mixed bag for Musk. The media apparently bashed him quite a bit, but he showed incredible restraint. Stayed on as the largest shareholder, acted as an advisor.
Which paid off handsomely when eBay bought PayPal.
Hugely. July 2002, $1.5 billion deal. Musk walks away with about $250 million after taxes.
That's the fuel. The fuel for the very wild dreams, as he put it.
Exactly. And he doesn't waste any time. Moves to LA, Target, space.
His first move is...
Interesting.
Joins the Mars Society.
Yeah, basically crashes one of their fundraisers, shows up uninvited, stuns everyone by writing a $5,000 check, later gives them $100,000 for a research station. But his real initial idea was, well...
Sending mice to Mars.
Yep. Mice to Mars. The idea was they'd procreate on the $15 million trip. His friend Jeff Skoll even bought him a giant wheel of cheese for the mouse mission.
You can't make this stuff up. Okay, so mice evolves into Mars Oasis.
A bit more sensible, yeah. A robotic greenhouse. Grow a plant on Mars, inspire people, prove life could exist there. Kind of a PR mission, really.
But he needed a rocket to get it there, which led him to Russia.
Right. Trying to buy cheap, refurbished ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles.
As you do.
But the trip was frustrating. He felt they weren't taking him seriously. The prices were too high. And on the flight back, he has this aha moment.
The spreadsheet moment.
This spreadsheet moment. He realizes, wait a minute, rockets are expensive because of how they're made and managed, not just the raw materials. He pulls out his laptop, starts crunching numbers.
And concludes.
I can build this rocket ourselves for way, way less. He dives into textbooks, rocket propulsion elements, stuff like that. Realizes the industry builds Ferraris for every launch. He just needs a Honda Accord. Reliable, reusable, cheaper.
And that's where Tom Mueller comes in.
Key figure. A brilliant, self-taught rocket engineer, worked at TRW, but also built engines in his garage. Had actually built the world's largest liquid fuel engine by an amateur.
Wow.
Mueller understood cost, performance, and had serious aerospace experience. He was crucial.
So Mueller plus Musk's spreadsheet equals SpaceX.
Pretty much. April 2002, SpaceX is founded. The first rocket is the Falcon 1, named after the Millennium Falcon, of course. And the promise is huge. Carry a 1,400-pound payload for $6.9 million. The industry standard then was maybe 550 pounds for $30 million.
A massive disruption, applying that Silicon Valley startup model to aerospace.
Exactly. Lean, fast, iterative. Totally different from the staid way things were done.
And the timeline he set was typical Musk.
Oh, yeah. Insanely ambitious. First launch targeted for November 2003, just 15 months after starting the company.
That's the logical, naive optimist Vance talks about, setting these incredibly aggressive goals.
Right, and that optimism would be tested severely, almost immediately.
Yeah, let's talk about the challenges, because right as the PayPal money comes through, right as he's launching SpaceX, tragedy strikes.
Yeah, it's devastating. His first child, Nevada Alexander Musk, just 10 weeks old, died from cesides. Sudden infant death syndrome.
Unimaginable.
And the book notes how differently he and his then-wife Justine processed it. She grieved openly. He reportedly found it very hard to talk about, kind of shut down.
She described it as a defense mechanism, right? From his own tough childhood, saying he doesn't do well in dark places.
Yeah. It really underscores the personal cost alongside the professional pressure cooker he was in.
Because while he's trying to shield his employees from the financial stress, he's personally leveraged to the hilt.
Absolutely. Weight fluctuating wildly, nightmares, borrowing hundreds of thousands from friends like Larry Page. His then-wife, Tallulah Riley, described him looking like death itself, just a man on the brink.
And amidst all this personal turmoil, SpaceX is trying to actually launch a rocket.
And the first attempt, March 2006, spectacular failure.
Engine fire right after liftoff.
Yep. Rocket spins out of control, tumbles back down, debris rains down near the launch pad. The satellite payload actually crashed through the roof of their own machine shop. Well, Musk's reaction is telling. No public despair. Instead, he points out, look, historically, launch companies fail a lot at the beginning. He writes this memo saying, basically, we're in this for the long haul, come hell or high water, we'll make this work.
And he even brings in a critic to investigate the failure.
Yeah, Pete Worden, a Defense Department consultant who'd been skeptical. Musk asks him to lead the failure investigation, shows that commitment to figuring out what went wrong, however uncomfortable.
Okay, but then launch number 2, a year later.
Also fails. This one gets further, looks good initially, everyone's cheering.
And then boom.
Yeah, a wiggle, they called it. Sloshing fuel caused by residual thrust after stage separation, another explosion. Now it's 4 years past his original target.
And the money
is running out fast. He's chewing through his internet fortune, sells his McLaren F1 supercar for cash, starts flying Southwest Airlines.
Wow.
It really gets down to the wire in 2008. Both SpaceX and Tesla are on the verge of collapse. It's a true near-death experience for both companies.
That's when he makes that declaration, right? Spend my last dollar.
Yep. Said he'd spend his last dollar on the companies even if he had to move into his parents-in-law's basement. Just absolute, total commitment. Risking everything.
And then somehow, things start to turn. The Model S.
Finally, May 2012. After years of delays, huge cost overruns $140 million instead of the $25 million estimate. Tesla starts shipping the Model S.
And it's a hit. Like an immediate game-changing hit.
Totally. Wins Car of the Year awards, outperforming luxury competitors on speed, range, storage.
The front trunk. That was brilliant.
It was, and the whole approach was different. Direct sales, no dealerships, this concierge fashion delivery.
But the software was the real revolution, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Over-the-air updates. Your car could literally get better overnight. Fixes, new features. It wasn't just a car, it was a gadget. It actually got better after you bought it. That was huge.
And that summer of Musk in 2012 just felt like announcement after announcement.
It was a whirlwind. The Supercharger network revealed solar-powered, free cross-country travel for Model S owners. Then, the secret battery swapping demo. A robot changing the battery in 90 seconds.
Faster than filling a gas tank.
Exactly. It all built this image. Tesla wasn't just selling cars, it was selling the future, a lifestyle. Like Apple.
And critically, this wasn't happening in isolation. SpaceX was succeeding too.
Right. Just weeks before the Model S launch, SpaceX docked its Dragon capsule with the International Space Station and brought it back. First private company ever to do that.
So you have these two massive, high-profile